6 Minutes Season 5. The Season of Unknowingness. The final chapter of the 6 Minute sequel.
There are kids in this world who are different. Special.
One of them found us.
And became family.
But her time ran out. And now, that girl is missing.
In this episode, I'll be breaking down the latest episode, 6 Minutes Season 5, piece by piece. Hey, Review Pop listeners, it's your Landon Mueller. We're here today talking about episode 44 of 6 Minutes Season 5. We are really getting close to the end of the season. I mean, 8 or 7 episodes left? That is very exciting. And we've just reached a very great point in the season. Everything in this episode with Jude was phenomenal. John T. Weston gave off such a great performance, and I'll dive into this more when we get into that clip, but I think Jude he just seems like he's going crazy here. He's on the verge of breaking. And then the other thing I wanted to mention was GZM Shows got the rights back, or is partnering with Pinna to re-release one of my favorite GZM shows, The Ghost of Jessica Majors. And I totally think everyone listening should check out this show if they have not heard it. And not only that, but Jessica Majors is such an interesting character. But yeah, let's dive straight into this episode.
Brynleigh is capable of making her own decisions.
I'm not gonna let you.
Let me?
I'll stop you if I have to.
Stop, Pen! Don't get any closer! I don't want to lose my grip again!
Brynleigh, I want to help you.
That's enough, Pen. I have someone on the line who's eager to speak with you.
It's gotten really serious. Like, he is willing to fight Penn almost in this clip, going out of his way to be a complete maniac over Brynleigh. And that really shows you who Jude is and where his priorities are at. And I really chose this clip because I think it's great how Penn almost tries to defend Brynleigh in a way, right? This is his friend, or was in another world, and he cares a lot about Brynleigh. He cares about Brynleigh enough to protect her against this crazy maniac, Jude, right? This man who's obsessed with Brynleigh, and Brynleigh finds herself in the middle of a traumatic situation. But I cannot go without talking about Dr. Solstice in this clip, the return of Dr. Solstice. I was just thinking in the last episode about, when will she come back? Because it's been a very long time since we heard from her. She was in the beginning of the season, and she was talking to Monica. And I'm really excited to see what else we learn about Dr. Solstice.
I was in the void too, and I made it out with my memory intact. Together, we can harness your abilities, change the world for the better.
You can help me bring back Holiday, but not lose my mom?
If that's what you want, you can have everything.
Jude is such a perfect example of how to be so convincing. He's saying, if you go with me, I can solve all your problems and get rid of all your struggles, because Brynleigh's been facing that internal conflict of, her mother, and not knowing if she can be in the same world with her mother ever, if she can ever love and be with her mother again. Jude is saying that he can fix everything for Brynleigh, that he is the savior that will solve all of her problems, and I think that is very problematic. We hear it later in this episode that Jude saw the look in her eyes that she was ready to go with Jude. Who wouldn't want to have their world solved? And Jude seems like a good option to her right now. Jude seems like the answer to her prayers, and I think that's very interesting. Jude is such a captivating character every time we hear from him. I mean, I think his performance just gets better and better. John T. Weston, it was really great. I got to have him on the podcast, and I got to learn a lot about, his time playing Jude and how enthralled he is in his character.
Then you must also know that she herself is lost. All those years of running, I'd be surprised if she even knew who she was at this point. Is that what you want for yourself?
No. But she said I had changed. That's how we were able to exist at the same time.
So, once again, Jude continuing that manipulation in a sense, making Brynleigh feel, bad and kind of confused in that sense, so conflicted, and I think that's so interesting, and it just goes to show, this character and how well he is at manipulation. He kind of uses that strategy of saying that Guinevere's life must be bad, and do you want that, Brynleigh, right? He's posing that question, trying to get Brynleigh to pick sides, trying to get Brynleigh to pick his side and come with him. And everything with the portal in this episode, too, is very interesting. I didn't include it in this clip, but, they figured out a way to get Trigger Pen to open up portals on command, Dr. Solstice. That is something I didn't know was possible, that could just be triggered in that sense. She just triggered him to go into that flow state of saying the door opens and closes. I think that's super interesting, and it just goes to show how little power Pen has, right? He has all these people around him controlling him, manipulating him, even his own mother, and that's super interesting.
You can have your little Whittier Corp fiefdom back, as long as you help Brynleigh take her rightful place by my side.
Are you kidding? The Monarch will never...
You have yourself a deal.
He does?
Good!
It's interesting that this clip shows that Jude cares about Brynleigh over everything. Over everything else, he cares about Brynleigh. And that was something that was kind of discussed on GZM Rewind this week. What does Jude care about the most besides Brynleigh? Is it power? But it's so interesting every time we see partnerships in 6 minutes. It's such an interesting concept, especially whenever it's villains working together. Angelica Graves and Magnus, that's a villain team up. We have now Jude working with Angelica. We've seen in the past Angelica Graves work with, people like Adam in season 2. And that was one of the most interesting partnerships of the whole show, because if you remember correctly, Adam stabbed Angelica in the back. And then this idea of Whittier Corp going back to Angelica is super interesting, because I'm really interested to see what exactly she's going to use Whittier Corp for. We had heard her say that she wants to use this company to help children. And I think that's super interesting, help sick kids, but is that true?
What are you doing here?
I guess you could say I grew up here.
I don't understand.
Badger, go see that Pen is back to himself.
Okay.
Thank you. Hello, Brynleigh.
Perhaps Adelaide saved him from some sort of situation. He was saved in the woods. That might still be true. And I think it makes sense, because in both worlds, Badger was saved by someone, right? Originally in season 1 and season 2, he was saved by Brynleigh after he had lost his memory. And, we all know kind of how that went. Bruce. The Bruce phase, it's one of my favorite phases of Badger, because we learned so much about Badger in those episodes. We learned about how vulnerable he is and how he has fears, like he was, afraid of the dark? And that just really goes to show how complex of a character he is. Sometimes he has this tough exterior. He's willing to lie But ultimately, at his core, he's a very, very good person, and we know that from all the seasons. He is one of my favorite characters.
Thornton, what's happening?
Ivan and the William Hope team are storming the mansion.
We have to get out of here. Quickly.
Elixir Key! Holiday told me we have to get to Elixir Key for New Year's Eve.
Smart girl.
But how do we get out of here if the house is surrounded?
There's a way. How do you feel about catacombs?
Gosh, I think this episode and this clip really benefits from some great callbacks. I mean, we have Thornton Rest, we have Elixir Key, everything is so great, and I love that we give a voice to Thornton. That's something I never really expected. As we know in the original series, Thornton didn't have a voice, but, he made milkshakes, cookies, and cream, the password. I think Thornton is a very interesting character, and it was confirmed on Rewind that Thornton is voiced by Anya, who does a lot of the sound design for Out of Time for seasons 3, 4, and 5. And then I also love the catacombs here mentioned. Totally, awesome callback to season 3.
This is where Adelaide built her bombs, right? I think it's time to pay a visit to Dr. Whittier's lab for some reinforcements.
What an exciting cliffhanger. It sounds to me like Jude is going to build more bots. And that is going to be so, so interesting. I'm totally curious to see what he's going to do with the bots, how he's going to build them, but we know he has this interest in bots. From a young age, Jude has always been interested in building bots. We saw that first in a clip from season 4. But yeah, this is awesome. Thank you all so much for listening. If you enjoyed the show, please leave a 5-star review. Until next time, this is Landon saying, peace, love, and time travel.